I wanted to give you an overview of the course so that you could have a sense of the rhythm as well as the content of the class. Um, Authenticity is what, for me, is the most important quality in preaching. Um, it's become a bit of a buzzword um, that this person is authentic and that one is not. The course, I think, will give you all an opportunity to really explore what what does it mean to speak authentically about what is most important to you. Um, it feels somewhat ironic in this political season when we have so much speech that feels both authentic and inauthentic. We're all struggling, I think, in this country right now to understand what um, is most meaningful to us. When I say authenticity, I think about being real, about having a certain kind of integrity, certainly being truthful, but not just telling everything that's true or letting it all hang out. I also have this sense of congruence between what I say and what I am feeling or what I believe. That there is some congruence, head, heart, and body. David Bohm, in on dialogue, um, uses the language of coherence in terms um, of of being having an authentic dialogue. And for those of you all who are pursuing ministries of justice or peacemaking or service in any way, I think will really benefit from Bohm's book. Um, there is the online version of Just on um, Dialogue, but this little volume has all of his collected works, which I think are really worth the read. He's really clear and gives a pretty powerful um, presentation about um, what happens when people are authentic and the possibilities that arise out of a group conversation when we um, can shed our presumptions and prejudices. But of course, I want to know what you think about authenticity. You've signed up for this class. Maybe you needed it for a requirement, but something may have piqued your interest. And I want to know, is it important to you, authenticity? Um, in what way is it important? And if it's not a driver for you, why is that the case? What is most important to you? And I think that what we'll come to is what's at stake for us in being authentic. What do we risk? Um, I hope you'll begin to kind of look at things and kind of begin to have that question arising about authenticity. You know, whether it's diamonds or cuisine or you know uh, a building of whatever it is that might come into your mind about authenticity. The way that I've worked spiritually in my school is looking directly at what the obstacles are to to being authentic. In this case, the obstacles we look at the obstacles in being in feeling peace or in experiencing our strength or those kinds of aspects. But what we're looking at is what are the obstacles? What gets in the way? What makes authenticity so challenging, so hard? Um, and I'm hoping that Hamid Ali, who writes under the pen name of A.H. Almas, will be a helpful resource in noticing what is real in your own experience. He's diving pretty deep, and I hope that this will be helpful. You'll be using this text in weeks 4 through 10 as a weekly discipline. Most importantly, of course, is the Enneagram in terms of helping us to discover the obstacles in being a real human being. It, for me, has become the most important and the most precise tool in discerning what is real in us. And it's kind of as opposed to what is the personality drive in us. So we're going to spend the first 3 weeks looking directly at the Enneagram. We'll continue to use this material throughout the whole course. The Bible, for me, is on the Enneagram, is the wisdom of the Enneagram. This is my teachers, but this volume has probably the most, and it's very dense, so I hope that it isn't overwhelming to you, but it does pull together the most recent wisdom that has been collected here. Also, as we're looking at the Enneagram, I've moved from a recommended list to the required list for the spiritual dimension of the Enneagram. Sandra Maitre's book is just a profound gift to the Enneagram community in understanding the depth of kind of the human, what is our real work as we're working through our type. She's also going to have some important material for preaching your second sermon because she has material on the soul child, and we'll be using her book and her insights as you're looking at that last sermon that you're preaching in your ministry setting. You'll also be preaching on a biblical character who represents your type, or let me say this, whatever type you're going to choose to work on in the course. And your wisdom may change over the course of the time. You may start out thinking that you're a 3 and find out later that you are an 8. So there's no mandatory knowledge that you need to have about your type. It is an unfolding process, to be sure. But in that middle week, that week of the 5th week where we're doing the preaching here on the campus, the ILF campus for the gathering days, you'll be using a character in the Bible. And I have 2 resources that are on your recommended list that will help you if you're wanting to look at a character, biblical character. You will need to make sure, if you're not using one that's recommended, that you sort of check with me and make sure that that character fits that type. But clearly, this is a preaching course. We are exegeting the preacher in this class. That's my orientation to the work. But I want you all, if you aren't regular preachers and have experience and practice in this discipline, to be able to confidently construct a sermon, preach it in a reasonably effective way. It's a big undertaking if you've never preached before. But that's my goal, is to give you an opportunity to really understand how, from start to finish, how a sermon is constructed. Now, some of you all are traditional students and come from Judeo-Christian traditions. Some of you all are non-traditional students. So your sermon settings are going to vary. Your sermon content is going to vary. But what I want you to be able to practice is this art of preaching. And the best book that I've found that can just take you through it, straight through it, is a new one to me, actually, Preaching That Matters by Lori Carroll. She is not a preacher. She is actually a communications specialist. But her commitment to and her understanding and appreciation for the value of preaching, I think makes it a very valuable text. You'll be using this text from weeks 4 to 10. She chapter by chapter, you'll go through. She also uses reflective practice, which I love, as a discipline for just reflecting on the material that she's given. So you're going to be spending some time reflecting on what she is presenting. And then you'll preach 2 sermons, as you know. Those 2 sermons are going to be uploaded at the end of the course, weeks 9 and 10. I recommend that you schedule them to be able to preach as late as possible in the course. It's not required, but I think that you will get the most benefit in terms of really working through Carroll's book, as well as just your own maturity in these 10 weeks. So the course is kind of broken up into a 3-week segment that has largely to do with understanding the Enneagram system. Weeks 4, 5, and 6 are focused on you taking the material and bringing it to bear on the question of authenticity. You're going to be looking at it, talking about it, working on it together to really understand what it is that you mean by authenticity. And then finally, in weeks 6, 7, 8, and 9, you'll be preparing for and preaching your 2 congregational or ministry setting sermons. The rhythm of the course, the weekly rhythm, will feel a bit like this. It's Wednesday, Friday, Monday. By that I mean on Wednesday, which is when we'll actually start our course material, you will have reading material, videos. I might link you to some print resources, and you'll be reflecting and posting for me and for your small group on Wednesdays. On Fridays, you'll have more material that you'll be reflecting on, and you'll be posting comments, discussion with the whole class. And then come around to the Monday, you'll be responding to your classmates. Sometimes it's small group, sometimes it's large group. So that will be the rhythm of the class. There'll be, I hope to give you helpful feedback individually, in small groups, and particularly I want to be there in the large group. I love questions, and I hope that you can continue to just keep asking questions for each other. Good questions are a potent resource. It's wonderful to pour out information, but it's more important, I think, to ask questions. And I can respond to the questions as they arise and are appropriate. I look so forward to our conversations. You're deepening the conversation for me on authentic preaching. Thanks.